can remain this type of man at home and I can satisfy myself outside. But guess what? The woman, because you're not talking, your wife might be thinking, why can't we spice things up? Like this lady you talk about. Why is it just, he just comes, he climbs on top of me. Next thing he has come is over, And he's there thinking, this woman, let me just get it. It's been 1 week already. She'll start giving me side eye. Let me just climb on top of her, do and get off. But you both actually, in the deeper part of your minds, want the same thing. But you're not talking to each other.
So how do we build this level of emotional connection that would ensure sexual intimacy in the marriage?
When I wanted out, 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 when I wanted out of the relationship.
Hi, welcome again to another episode of the When I Wanted Out talk show. I'm your host, Teleola Kola-Edun. Thank you for joining us again on this episode. Now, this episode, I'm discussing a topic that many of us we shy away from. We don't like to talk about this issue, but it's everywhere. Everybody is complaining. And this one is titled The Importance of Sex in Marriage. Now, to discuss this, we have an expert speaker named Miss Julia Ogede. Now, Miss Julia started her career within the NHS and trained as a midwife. The most rewarding aspect of midwifery for her was providing psychological support to the women under her care. And this led to her training as a counselor with a specialism in psychosexual counseling. In 2020, she set up her own practice in Nigeria and currently owns Jules Meridian Recovery Home in Lekki, which offers a retreat for counseling and spiritual healing. Now, this topic, I really want us to take some time to learn from. Every one of us have one issue with this topic in one way, shape, or form. And Miss Julia is going to expound on it. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for being a part of our show. So jumping right into it, people shy away from this topic. I know if I were outside and people are even talking about it, I really would not contribute because I would feel like you're going to judge me or... Right. So it's best I keep mum while I listen. So a lot of us just don't feel comfortable talking about this issue. Why is sex and sexual intimacy important in marriage?
Right. Well, thanks for having me. And a special thank you for bringing this topic to light. Because like you pointed out, everyone's doing it, really, when you get to a certain age. Even if you don't want to talk about it, you're probably doing it. Back to your question, though, there's a distinction between sex and sexual intimacy. And in a marriage, though, that distinction is especially important. Maybe when you're single, you're young, it's not as important. But once you get into a marriage, that distinction becomes really, really important. And I'll tell you for why. So sex is more physical. It's something that people partake in because they enjoy it. Some because they have a compulsion towards it. Others find it entertaining or relaxing. For some, it might be a power thing. It's all kinds of things, but it's mainly physical. It's driven mainly by urges. Whereas with sexual intimacy, now that's completely different because underpinning that is trust. There is bonding. There is an openness and a vulnerability that is required to then transcend from just sex to sexual intimacy. And that's why it's supposed to be more rewarding. That's what we expect to find in marriages. But like you say, a lot of it is lacking. But it's really important in terms of sexual intimacy because it's one of the first indicators that there's a problem in a relationship. It's easy enough to have sex. You can take your mind there. You can engage in it. You can have the different types that you like to have sex with. You can change it up. You can forget about it as soon as it's done. With sexual intimacy, it's completely different. And so where a couple are together and they start to lose that ability to be intimate when they're having sex. I'm not just talking about intimacy when you're sitting watching TV or out in public, but now you're undressed, you're naked, you're in a place where once you're heightened in your sensibilities, you're not quite aware of what's around you, what's being said. So you really lose yourself when you're being sexual with somebody that you're in a relationship with. So you have to trust that person. Yeah. So where you start to lose that in a relationship, it's the first hint that things are not quite as they should be. It might be to do with trust. It might be betrayal. It might be just something getting into your head, some idea of something that maybe the person has done to you, has hurt you.
Yes.
And you will find that a lot especially with women, when they're not happy. It's difficult for them to be sexually engaged with their husbands because there's something else going on. Whereas with the man, sorry now. I've said sorry now. Let's do the thing.
And for the woman, she's still brooding.
She's still brooding. She's still in it. She's still trying to process it. In fact, she's somewhat offended that the man is
still make advances.
Do you understand?
Yes,
it's like, come on. Are you trivializing what happened? And so, they need that intimacy a lot more than the men do. That is not to say the men don't need it as well. It's just as important for them, but men tend to make a distinction. So even though he can be intimate with his wife and he enjoys it, it doesn't mean he doesn't also enjoy the sport of sex, the rascality of sex, the, I can do it now. There's so many things at play. Some men who in their wildest dreams, they didn't know would be this successful. And suddenly the women that they thought were way beyond their reach,
and now
they're now there. Yeah. So they bastardize the whole situation. It becomes like,
I can get anybody I want now.
Exactly. Yes. So I think in a marriage and for people who are in committed relationships, that's one thing to, both for the men and the women, always look out for. The fact that you can be intimate whilst having sexual intercourse with your partner.
So I'm sure people are looking like, I'm not sexually intimate with my husband. I'm not sexually intimate with her. I find intimacy just even being connected emotionally with somebody outside, So there's a couple now, maybe one party is not satisfied sexually.
Yeah.
It be it intimacy or it be the physical aspect of it. What should whoever is struggling with it, what should that couple do to make sure that the marriage doesn't fall apart based on intimacy or the lack of
satisfaction?
No satisfaction.
Yeah, that you really need to be a partnership. You really need to. This has to be your bone person. Where it's just sex, you'll find that it doesn't really matter too much in terms of satisfaction. If there's something to be gained from the act of it, that's enough. But in a marriage or in a committed relationship, you want to be able to talk to each other freely and openly without fear of judgment. And sometimes that judgment starts within yourself because you're already thinking, if I tell my husband now I'm not satisfied, he might feel bad. He might wonder where I've gone to that they satisfied me and suddenly I'm not satisfied. He might wonder whether, I used to do runs before. All sorts of funny thoughts start to go through your head. And so you don't even discuss it with your husband or with your partner, your boyfriend, your fiance, whatever. And the same with the men. They might have had a taste for something in the past. They might have this idea in their head. They might have how they want their partner to be.
Yes.
But again, they don't want to hurt feelings. They don't want to, be questioned. Where did you go? And the person was winding their waist. And now all of a sudden, you're not satisfied with me just lying still. But people change, people grow, so it's got to be allowed. You might have had a wonderful sexual relationship in the early start of your marriage or your relationship, but he's growing, you're growing. You're exposed to all sorts of things, stories from friends, television, books, whatever, and so your interests will change. The things that you want to try will change. So it's all right if in the past you used to be satisfied and then you heard a friend talking about something and you're like, is that a thing?
Can I point out that I heard someone talk about going for swinging parties, that the husband and the wife go together. And, and I was like, well, I don't know how comfortable people will be to try that. But if it's, I did meet a lady, for instance, that said, I just don't feel satisfied. For my husband, it's just that he comes and that's it. Like, there's nothing beyond having the intercourse. Like, there is no bonding. There is nothing. It's just, for her, it's a chore. So on the one hand, one party wants to try swinging parties. The other is like, what kind of rubbish is that? Then on the other hand, she's like, can you even try and bond on a deeper level than just, then now I'm not looking forward to it. So I feel people with different preferences on what they would like.
You're absolutely right. But again, they're talking to their girlfriends, their female friends, but they're not talking to their partner. If you are committed to that relationship, if you've decided this is it, this is the person, then you need to tell the person, and you need to feel safe enough not to be judged. You need to feel safe enough that the person will say, okay, yes, I want to try that, or no. You can set boundaries, like when you talk about swinging parties or couples who actually try like threesomes and things, actual married couples, because one person is curious about it or has done it in the past and really likes it and has held on for a while. You will find that that person has an option in their own head. Should I talk to my wife about this? Or should I just go outside and get two babes and do it? Then I can remain this type of man at home and I can satisfy myself outside. But guess what? The woman, because you're not talking, your wife might be thinking, why can't we spice things up? Like this lady you talk about. Why is it just, he just comes, he climbs on top of me, next thing he has come is over, And he's there thinking, this woman, let me just get it. It's been 1 week already. She'll start giving me side eye. Let me just climb on top of her, do and get off. But you both actually, in the deeper part of your minds, want the same thing. But you're not talking to each other.
So how do we build this level of emotional connection that would ensure sexual intimacy in the marriage? What do we do?
Trust and openness. This is your bone person. If you get it in your head, this is my person. First of all, let's say, to you as an individual, sex is important. Sexual intimacy is important. Sexual satisfaction is important. So you want what you want. You yourself, you need it, right? This is the person you've committed to spend the rest of your life with. So what are you saying? You're going to forgo it for the rest of your life? You're going to just not have that satisfaction? You're just going to not try the things you want to try because you're married to this person? So what does that mean? Are you going to leave the marriage and go and start sampling who's going to, meet those needs that you have? Because they're real needs that you have and they're important, even for your mental health. So once you understand that this is my person, I will be my most authentic self to you. We will talk about things openly. I will trust you not to judge me or condemn me or, use it to abuse me tomorrow when we're having a fight. But if you do that and the person then turns around to do those kind of negative things to you, then you know a bit more about the person you're married to, right? And it can give you an insight into how solid your partnership is. Is this really somebody that you can share everything with, every thought? You can try every wild thing you want to try. I've had couples who, the man wants to introduce another woman into their bedroom, and the wife, of course, struggles with it. And it's like, oh my God, are you going to touch the other woman or are you not going to touch the other woman? But you see, they then set boundaries and rules. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes it is catastrophic. But the important thing is you've tried it together, right? You've tried it together. It's not going to lead to him doing other things. He would have done it anyway if he wanted to. but at least you get to try it together. So it's really important that you trust the person you're with.
To be able to share.
Yes, just be open.
Okay.
You know.
I want to ask a question, but I want us to go on a quick break because I feel like a lot of people will struggle, particularly the Christians, with this notion of you can bring in whatever you want when Christ has said this and that. So we'll be right back. I will dig deeper on this issue.
When I wanted out, 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 when I wanted out of the relationship.
So welcome back. We're still talking on the issue of sex in marriage. So our guest was talking about how important this is and the place of trust and openness and communication in marriage about your needs. One, they change over time, so it's good to always communicate. We mentioned 2 points, which is the Christian, exploring all of these things within the Christian confines. And secondly, the issue of maybe one person having an affair.
Yes.
And most often than not, we always talk about the men having affairs.
Yes.
So if as a wife, I know that my husband has multiple partners or has affairs, how do I reconcile that if I am not even fulfilled being with him sexually and he's having all these affairs? What do I do to kind of rein him back in?
Okay. Now this is a tricky one because I don't want to be accused of putting the onus on the woman.
Yes.
To kind of rein him back in. But truth be told, that's what she needs to do, because a lot of wives are just not sexual. They have this thing in their head that, I'm a wife, I'm a mother. We don't do these things. I'm a Christian. We can't do these things. We can't do these positions. We can't introduce these lubricants and aids and things like that. We can't watch certain things. And so the man, like I said, we all have our needs. He has his need. He's going to go out and fulfill it. And then he's going to come back. So he starts having these affairs because that person is meeting those needs, those kind of basic needs.
Yes.
That is not to say he doesn't value his home, he doesn't value his wife, he doesn't have a lot of love for his wife. So if his wife or the wife should then try and become a bit more sexual, just try, add that to the mix.
Now, we're asking the wife to do more in terms of being sexual. What does the wife need to do? Like right now, we hear of men complaining that, she's always wearing her hair bonnet, she's always tying a wrapper, she's not trying. So what can a woman do? And what can a man do? Because you will find sometimes I think sometimes we don't understand that women are more, is it sexual in some cases? Than men. So we complain about the woman not being as sexual. Yes, what can she do? But if the man himself is not even, is a prude.
Yes.
So how do we?
She can teach him.
She can teach him.
She can teach him. She can teach him about her body. She can teach him how to touch her, what she enjoys. So she can do that. Yeah, you're right. A lot of men do not know how to make love to a woman. They know how to have sex, but that's about it. That's about it. So the woman, he's your man. You can teach him because it's about your own pleasure as well, And then stop looking at him as the husband, the daddy, the provider. He's your lover. That's what he is. When you see him, you will remove your hair bonnet by yourself. You will, go and shower because this is your lover. Your lover is coming tonight. You have plans for your lover, not your husband, not daddy, Tunde and all those kind of things. This is your lover. And so you already get into that mindset that, I'm going to, play with him, tease him. Not everything has to be so serious. When he's eating, be like, the way you're just eating, I don't know, your lips are just moving in one kind of way. some men will be afraid. But generally, you know, he kind of like goes, what's going on? You know, and you're like, you know, that's, you know.
So we shouldn't always wait for the man.
Don't always wait for the man.
Yeah,
No.
you also plan.
Yes. And, you know, for the men as well, like you say, you're right. Some men too, you know, that's where the issue is coming from. And if you're that man, you know, I mean, come on, relax, talk to your friends, go and watch something, you know, or just say to your lady, you know, I want to please you. Tonight, I don't want anything. I want to please you. So tell me what to do. Show me, you know, and observe. When you're doing something, be in tune with her. Observe, you know, like what they call this, like her ringtone is changing, you know. Be conscious of things like that, you know, because it's a bond you both have. And if you're both committed to that relationship and you both understand that that sexual connection, that sexual satisfaction, that enjoyment is important, then you would be as committed to it.
So it shouldn't be just one person that is just getting from it. Both parties should actually be working together to ensure that, okay, you're sexually satisfied, I am sexually satisfied, and we're doing this.
Yeah. But I mean, having said that, in a good, healthy relationship, you're not both always going to be satisfied every day.
Time,
You know, sometimes it's about, I want to give you pleasure, you know, and I don't need to be satisfied. I will take my joy from you being satisfied, and that's all right. You know, he doesn't have to be, you know, fully erect and, you know, raring to go for you to be able to please him or for you to derive pleasure from it. So there are a lot of mindsets that need to change, you know. A lot of women would say, well, he's not as rigid and he's not as, you know, firm as he used to be. He doesn't last as long as he used to be. I need a young boy. A lot of women, married women, are having affairs. It's not just the men, you know, and they're seeking this thing they had with their husbands or with their boyfriends 10, 12, 8 years ago. But it's healthier to grow with the person that you're with. Learn new ways to satisfy yourselves. Learn new ways to enjoy your bodies. You know, it doesn't have to be what you did in the past. It doesn't have to be about, you know, eternal condemnation and bringing, you know, people into your relationship, because that can be catastrophic in itself. But again, it just goes back to, you know, talk, be open. Even if he's having affairs, even if she's having affairs, you will find that that person outside loses significance quite quickly, because what you offer at home is a lot more. You know, by the time he thinks about going to meet up with that girl, you know, it's like, you know, it becomes a chore. It becomes
if you're offering him,
you've got it at home.
Yeah,
you know,
and you're a bit sexual about it, and you're planning it, and it's not just like let's come see, come ça, whatever.
Yes, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks, it's 8 p.m. Okay, put off the light. Is it time? Let's do now. All those type of things, you know.
So you should be more
playful, be more open, be more adventurous. Even in a Christian marriage, this is the person that God has bound you with, Abi. So whatever it is he has, whatever his nuances, whatever his, you know, what you call interests, I think God is in your relationship, right? So God must be aware of what's going through his mind and what's going through your mind. Get rid of that guilt and shame and, you know, all the bad things that are going to happen, because you will bring in something that's even a lot worse than being adventurous in your marriage, when either party starts to walk around with guilt or shame, or, you know, is driven to commit greater sin because they are, you know, even fantasizing. They've not even actually done it,
but they're having thoughts.
It's enough for them to then condemn themselves and then be riddled with guilt and shame and all sorts of things. So just have that healthy, open sexual relationship where you can talk about anything, try anything. If one person likes it, the other person doesn't like it, that's all right, you know.
But be systematic about it, or
be intentional,
spontaneous about it.
Yes.
You know, be spontaneous. It shouldn't be so rigid, so you know, so structured. And then also, I love what you said about that sexual communication, to be able to lay down my guard and say, look, this is what I need from you right now. And it's okay that we are growing older and needs are changing, and, you know, people want to experiment more or look for but other things that excite them and things like that, but staying within the confines of
your relationship.
Your relationship.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Like, that was super amazing because we touched on all the points that I wanted to make, which was anybody having an affair, you know, what is it that they're lacking at home? But some men are just not disciplined and some women are just not disciplined. Even if your spouse is trying their hardest best to be sexual and give you all that you want, you still go out there and do it.
This is true. But then if you're on the receiving end of that, try and make that distinction in your own mind for your own sanity. There is a distinction between sex and sexual intimacy. So if it helps you, just understand, okay, he's having sex. You know, there's no intimacy there. There's no bond. There's no anything. He's just a rascal, or she's just like that. For her, it's transactional. For her, it's as good as dancing, you know. But sexual intimacy is completely different. And you will find that with most couples where there has been infidelity, it's not so much the sex that is the biggest problem. It's where there is a real connection, you know, where there's that emotional bond with another person, where he's sharing, he feels, you know, relaxed and in one with this other person. That is a bigger betrayal than he slept with somebody. You know, so if it helps, then make that distinction yourself and say, this one, it doesn't matter what I wear. I can go and buy all the lingerie and buy all the things. He will still go with his friends and have, you know, raunchy weekend. Okay, it's just sex. What can you do about it? Nothing. But you know, do your own introspection first and you just check all your own boxes. You know, are you making an effort? Even if it's not for him, because he's hurt you so much and nothing's going to make any difference. Okay, for yourself, you know, for yourself. This man, you're going to come home today and you're going to work. I'm going to lie back and you're going to do all the work. I want to be satisfied today. And, you know, so get that for yourself.
Wow, thank you so much. This was so nice, honestly. I enjoyed and I learned. And I do hope that this has blessed at least one or two families. If you do have questions, if you're struggling with it, you feel ashamed because of some kind of issues that you're facing, or you know, your kink or the fantasies and you're struggling and trying to reconcile that as a married person, Miss Julia would be really happy to help you through if you need that therapy, if you need that place to be free and set to yourself, you know, free to work on your marriage. She does this. She has the retreat home, like she had said, where she works with couples or individuals who are struggling with these sexual issues. And we apologize that the episode was a bit long. I feel like this was such an interesting topic that we actually had to dive as deep as we could. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy, certainly, to send your question to Miss Julia. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
When I want